r/AskReddit by Redical. What's the single most heroic act you've ever witnessed? Saw a car flip over on the highway. The second the car stopped sliding on the road, a guy came out with a bat, broke the windows, and grabbed 2 children out of the backseat, then got the adults out. This shabbily looking guy, I guess he was homeless, runs out into the middle of the road when a red bus was just turning. My mum, a pretty chubby lady, runs into the road before this guy's guts get splattered across the road and pulls him back. He struggled for a bit, but she started comforting him, telling him it's gonna be okay. She sat there for an hour or so with him and we cleaned him up and got him some food. I know it was the first meal he had in ages and he felt as if at the end of his wits. She hugged him goodbye and I still think about him sometimes. Sometimes I want to be like my mother, even though she's a stubborn beach. TLDR. My mum saved a guy from committing suicide. Well, her stubbornness did keep him alive. You are not going to get hit by a bloody bus, and that's final. There was a crowd outside my high school surrounding a very one-sided fight. A teacher came to break it up after what seemed like an extremely long minute. I found out later that this well-known bully had been shoving one of the smallest kids in my grade, trying to get him to fight back to no avail. This kid was doing his best to get away, but the bully would just grab him and throw him to the ground. Eventually this kid steps in between them and says, "Duck you." That's enough. He was probably average sized, which was still smaller than the bully. The bully swings. The kid dodges and tackles him to the ground, starting the fight. The kid got the shit beat out of him, but he was at least able to break the bully's nose. It takes major balls to willingly get into a fight you know you don't have a chance of winning. That kid became a hero in the school, and damn did he deserve it. Hell, he broke his nose. That will hurt the bully's pride just enough. It was enough to keep him from bullying anyone physically after that, at least that I can remember. He was still an a-hole, just a more timid a-hole. The bully got suspended for 2 days and the kid who intervened got 2 days detention. He was originally going to get the same as the bully, but a bunch of kids went to the principal to tell them the entire story and he relented a bit. I wish the kid didn't even get that, but the administration felt the need to do something. I see a mother crossing the street, with groceries in one hand, her 3-year-old daughter in the other hand, 5-6-year-old son a bit further behind. Just as the mother has crossed the street, her son starts to cross the street as well. He didn't see the car coming towards him with about 50 km/h. A random stranger that is nearby turns his head and sees the car, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. Instinctively he just runs to the kid and grabs him, holds him tight with his back turned towards the car. Literally half a second before impact, the windshield of the car gets smashed, and the guy holding the kid rolls over the car, somehow managing to land on his back. I run towards them to check if they're okay, and the kid is crying as well as the mother. That was the first time I called 911. The kid said his arm was hurting, but I don't know what actually happened to the guy and the kid, as I left after the ambulance came and I didn't really check up on it. To risk your life that fast just to save the life of another achieves a new level of heroics, especially one who you don't know. Watched a drunk guy speed down my block and hit a light pole. Car flipped upside down. Caught on fire. Guy is screaming bloody murder. My neighbor heard it from inside. She jogged over to the car while I called 911 and pulled the guy out. Boom. Entire car engulfs in flames right after. She casually walks back inside after making sure the cops are on their way and he is alive. She was a very modest woman. Didn't want any attention for doing the right thing. When you said she casually walks, I mentally filled in a way and had her doing a Michael Bay slow-mo walking away from the explosion in my head. And the drunk guy is still laying on the ground behind her. Car in flames. Her boobs are bouncing. She's just thinking, I gotta finish my episode of Call the Midwife. The other bullies were waiting at the bottom. Then, suddenly, one of the forwards from the basketball team, a very popular, hulking Adonis named Marcus, is running down the hill. Just as Jacob reaches the bullies, some of the other athletes follow, and proceed to shove and intimidate the bullies, while a couple others pick up and dust off Jacob. Marcus, as far as I knew, had never met Jacob, but after scaring the bullies away, offered Jacob a ride home. Marcus was late coming back to school to practice, but by then coaches had found out what had happened and didn't say a word about it. I saw the whole thing go down and regret that I didn't get involved myself. This was an act of pure goodness on Marcus' part, and it inspired several others to do the right thing and help that poor kid. As far as I knew, nobody else ever ducked with Jacob. We need more Marcus in this world. Marcus in, Aaron out. This guy's 9-year-old daughter had diarrhea in a swimming pool and he took the blame for it to protect her dignity. Damn it, Jerry, you had diarrhea in the pool and now your daughter is crying hysterically. Come on, Jerry. As a kid in rural California, I watched a young mother dash in front of a speeding car to pick up and heave her toddler out of the way. The kid survived. Edit. No, I don't think the mother lived. The baby landed in the bushes beside the road. The car hit the mother full on, and my 8-year-old brain noped the duck out of there. I went home, ate dinner, and refused to think about it for 15 years. And the mother? Why do people not finish stories, girl? Your family really came up with the idea, your mother. It was our last year in primary school and there was a trip to a newly opened theme park organized for the year. No, one's parents would bring them because it was ridiculously expensive normally, but the principal knew the guy who owned and we got a good deal. Everyone was delighted about this and we were all looking forward to it until about a week before we were messing in the computer room, and while we were having a pile-on accidentally knocked over one of the tables and we all watched in horror as about 5 brand new computers fell over. We were then brought to the office where we were told there wasn't a chance we were going to the park and we were lucky to not be expelled. We were all devastated until one of the quieter guys marched into the principal's office a day before the trip and announced he alone had pulled down the table. We all thanked him the morning of the trip but felt a bit sorry for him as he had to spend the day with the younger classes. With his legend status secure, we bizarrely never saw him again as he moved to Australia and that was his last day in the school. That's a badass way to go out. You know he's a badass when he then moves to Australia. I was sitting at the window seat in a restaurant once and outside I saw this big guy in the crowded high street start wailing on his GF. Full on head punches. Everyone was standing around watching. Bystander effect, I guess. But this granny had to be going on 85, looks around in disbelief at all the gawping onlookers, then hobbles over to him and starts beating him around the head with her handbag. The guy was just stunned. I think he knew he couldn't fight the old lady back because she'd broken the bystander effect and the crowd would lynch him. So he just fended off as many blows from the handbag as he could, then ran away. People tend to give elderly folks a lot of shit, but one thing you have to admit is that as they get older, they stop giving a duck what anybody thinks about them. I think that makes them more prone to doing stuff like this, and I find it really awesome. Snackman stopping a fight on the subway. What a baller. Just passive fight blocking at its finest. I'm sure if he did anything but this, he would have got a ton of abuse from one of them. Pretty hard staying mad with someone being so nonchalant. Last Christmas my 6 feet tall cousin started choking on a piece of turkey in his 4 minutes and 11 seconds stepmom, who is a birthing nurse, gave him the Heimlich after she walked into the room and found him passed out. She was lifting him off the ground. She was thrusting so hard and finally the piece came flying out his mouth. It was her first time ever have to give the Heimlich to anyone outside of certification training classes, and it saved my cousin's life because she was the only one in the room when he passed out from it. The sheer size difference between them is what makes it amazing. Yeah, I'm 5'4" and had to give a Heimlich to a 6'6" basketball player in the lunchroom once. I stood up on the lunch table to do it. John is choking. I'll get the ladder. Thanks for watching this Reddical video. Subscribe for the best Reddit videos straight to your feed.